Okay, so I found this guy who made this video called "Signs You Are a Sub 5 Male," and what that basically means is like on a scale of 1 to 10, you're either a really big, or like you're hot as hell at a 10, and you're bad at a 5, whatever. Either way, he's trying to kind of self-deprecate here and say that everybody here is just like or these are the reasons why you are not, as chud as you should be.
You give an ugly guy a chance, he thinks he rules the world. I swear to God. Because they got a hot girl, they can be horrible. Like, you're still ugly, though.
A sub.
Yeah. I mean, I already disagree with the video because it's kind of taking Billie Eilish out of everybody at their word for like some things that like, or like social norms when it comes to men. But I think roughly at an estimate, Billie Eilish is kind of misandrous, so that kind of criticism or that kind of clip there doesn't really apply too much. You can take whatever she says with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to that sort of thing, because it doesn't really matter what she says. I feel like it's just it doesn't really apply to like actual, or to like how you are supposed to be as an actual human being. It doesn't really matter what other people say. That's what I'm trying to say.
Male is often someone called who has zero success with women.
I don't know if this is a physical representation of this guy. Like, this is his actual photo.
And if you look at a bell...
But I'll tell you what, that's not even bad. Like, there's no acne in that guy at all. And his face looks pretty clean. It's kind of rough around the edges on the beard. I imagine you get clean shaven with that, put a hat on. Could really look like a hot dude.
Has zero success with women. And if you look at a bell curve here, a sub 5 just means that we are below average. With average being a 5 and no, not a 7. I know everyone thinks a 7 is average. This is what a 7 looks like.
Really, that's 7? That's Justin Bieber. His like biggest prime. I mean, when he was 16 and he sported the bowl cut for the Beatles, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say he was hot as hell because that's just stupid. That's creepy. But I mean, here he's hot as hell, and he's way older. So I mean, there's no reason to say that 7 is like at its core just not average. But I would say that 5 is kind of like a good standpoint for average. But this is not average, or this is not 7. That is a 10 out of 10 right there.
And this is what a 5 looks like. And most likely if you watch...
That's just bad lighting and just bad, like... I mean, there's no effort put into this look, so obviously it's not going to look as hot as, like, Justin Bieber, but,
Because you're a 5, as am I. So then a sub 5 man means someone below average who looks more like this.
So he's saying that somebody like this would look worse than him? I mean, yeah, but then again, there's still no effort really put into the appearance. It's just like somebody who's going out for like a jog. They don't really care what other people think. It's late at night, and they're just, getting those final steps in before they go into bed or whatever. Or like, even if they couldn't sleep beforehand. I'm over analyzing this way too much, but you gotta hear me out here. This is such a dumb argument to say. Sub 5 males are like they're all they're all greasy. They all look like this and whatnot. There's no reason to say that. I mean, I'm not showing my face right now, but you've seen my face. It's not that. It. Honestly, my side profile is the worst angle, but at my peak, I am facing forward, and I have at least some good shadowing. I'm viewing. I'm logging the camera.
Surprised that it fit perfectly in the dimensions because I just like eyeballed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Damn, that sucks. That dude's even giving Black Widow the space just to get the high five, and she won't give it to him.
Show banner? Okay.
Ooh, that stinks.
So the first sign that you're sub 5 is that you're invisible to women. I don't really want to talk too much about women in this video because it's kind of obvious, and a lot of it's already been said. At the start of this university year when I was bald, women, they didn't want to interact with me. They didn't.
That's not really women's fault, though. That's not really something that, women should be criticized for. I'm not trying to sound like a simp here, but like, I I would say that one thing that is very much common in today's society is like, uh, women being afraid of like creeps or like people out there, and that's and it's an entirely sane reason to not go or like meet guys that you don't know, because that's just dangerous. That's like asking for trouble, especially when you're out on the street physically. It's easier to talk to people over the phone or like in a text message or even like just on mobile in chats, so they don't have your phone number, they can't really track who you are, or they don't have any pics of you. So I would say women are absolutely right to do or to like not interact with people, or not interact with men as much, because men can be scary. It is undoubtedly a scarier world than, let's say, 20 odd years ago, right? And I don't know that for a fact, but I would say that by today's standards, it is a scarier world than way back then.
One, there was zero eye contact. I was just a ghost. There was just nothing I could do. And what's even weirder is some of these girls I knew, like we were like acquaintances, or however you want to say it, someone you just know well at school or work, right? Someone you just...
I mean, when I was in high school, I didn't really talk to a whole lot of people in general. But when I did find like girls in my class that like either didn't bat an eye at me or just like looked the other way, I would talk to them. You can go and talk to them and get to know them if you want to interact with them. There's no reason to have this mentality that women should only be able to, actually approach you or whatever. They can approach you. That could be great, but most women just, or most people in general, just don't do that. More people are just becoming antisocial. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I would say it makes sense, So I would say, like, if you do want to actually find somebody nice to talk with, like in any case, whether it's a man or a woman that you want to talk to, you go and talk to them, especially face to face. That really works well most of the time. Like the other day, I went to my sister's job where she works, and I found this guy looking at some comics. He was looking at manga and Spider-Verse comics, or no, just Miles Morales comics. And I was talking to him about it, and we just hit it off. It was so simple. We talked about comics because of things that we liked. They were things that we had in common, and it was easy. And it was easy to talk to the guy because we could just express how much of a nerd or how much of nerds we were with each other, and like how it was just easy to talk to him because we liked the same things. We appreciated the same format, and we had a passion that we openly wanted to share. And that's not hard to do with literally anybody. Women shouldn't be different, It shouldn't be like you go up to them for no reason and you say, hey, and then just don't have anything to follow up with, Like the worst thing that you can say next is nice weather we're having today. Like that sounds so retarded. You shouldn't do that.
Kind of talk to and you're kind of cool with. You're not really friends or anything, but you do talk to them. But after I went bald because of the hair transplant, it was just gone. Like the whole acquaintance, suddenly we became strangers, and it's just wild to me how bad women treat you.
Oh yeah, it's definitely because of the baldness or whatever. Nobody really cares, or I don't really think it's like a major thing. If it is to like some of them, it's like they weren't really worth having as friends in the first place, especially if they don't really treat you the same after you went bald. But at that point, you just got to take it in stride, and like that comes with the territory of like sudden things that happen in your life. I'm sorry that happened, but like at the end of the day, that can't ruin your flow. You have to go on and like live life. It has to be, you have to be able to contribute to society, regardless of whether or not a girl looks in your way. So I'm not saying to suck it up and be a man. What I'm saying is to not take it so personally. If you have these connections or these like kind of parasocial relationships with people who don't see you the same way, then it may be time to like kind of get a reality check and just try and figure out what the main issue behind why you're feeling this way is, you know? I would say like when I was in that sort of stage of my life, I was like overanalyzing everything, every little single aspect of why a girl did not like me, or like I didn't have any connection towards them at all, and they just didn't look my way, especially after I don't know something happened, or just the fact that I was short. And I'm still short today, and girls don't look my way. But you know what? It's okay. I don't really care about it too much, to be honest, anymore. Because back then, I was just lonely, dude. But like actually having genuine friends and actually having genuine connections, and not just people that you talk to every now and then. If they don't want to talk to you anymore, but you only talk every now and then, you're not losing too much. That's not much of a relationship, anyways. You just have to take it in stride and go. You know, you have to keep going.
Women are really brutal, guys. Like, people always say that women are reserved and they don't make their intentions clear. Yes, they do. Just pay attention. Like, stop sleeping, pay attention, and watch their body language.
Us kiss.
If anything, what you should do is sleep on it, because like I don't really. There's nobody that's really looking, or in my opinion, that should be like over analyzing the situation, or like thinking of all the reasons why as to why women don't look in your way, and like the huge one being that this guy's bald. Like, put a fucking hat on or get a wig. Like, it's if you really believe that that's the reason why women are not talking to you, it may be time to change up the style. But that's not to say that being bald is like the worst thing that can happen to you. There are guys like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, I have to say his full name, that are bald and yet they're handsome as fuck. Okay, like if you look max, if you really want that bag, you kind of have to chase it. You can't just like, I put the least amount of effort into it and then eventually I'll get there. No, you have to put in some effort in order for that to actually like come to fruition. That's not a huge take either. That's just facts.
Thing was the most horrifying thing either of us have ever had to go through.
Because we're doing the kiss this week between Ron and Hermione.
What?
Doing the kiss between Ron and Hermione. And
This week?
Because we're doing the kiss this week between Ron and Hermione.
What?
Doing the kiss between Ron and Hermione. And
This
I don't really know what he's on about right here, but I guess he's cooking.
week?
Who's the standing right next to you?
Come on, get my name right.
I don't know. I think it's just
Hey,
Ron.
what's my name?
You look at the script. I think it's just Ron.
Doesn't know my name. What's my name, Rob? What's my name? What's my name?
That's that one.
Watch how they speak to you. Watch their eye contact. It's so obvious to me when a girl is into you and when she's not. And that's maybe because, I've gone from a sub 5 to a 5 to a 6. So I've seen quite a lot of difference.
He unironically uses rates or like ratings to like actually gauge how he looks like in real life. Like, nobody, honestly, no guy, no guy in his like early years is like constantly rating himself on a scale of 1 to 10 throughout the day because nobody's looking at him or whatever. If you do that, I would say that you really need to have some more genuine friends, because I mean, not that they're gonna tell you that you're handsome as fuck or whatever, but having more genuine conversations in life and like being able to hang out with people will stop you from doing this and being able to kind of sink into this motion, because even the whole title gives it away. This guy is just self-deprecating because he can't really do anything else. He's not really living life at the moment. He's just constantly worrying about how he looks, and I don't really think that's a healthy thing. I don't really think that's a healthy space to be in. That's just not genuinely a good mindset.
But yeah, this is one of the biggest ones that they just ignore you. You don't exist. And that was the most brutal memory that I have, is that these people, like I said, like if it's random women that I don't know, then I don't really care. But the fact that these were women that we were cool, like we talked and everything, and some of them were even into me. I've said this in a past video. Some of them were even into me, but then I'm bald, and all of a sudden, all of that goes out of the window. After I became bald, after I became an ogre, it was just gone. It was just deleted. Like,
I mean, again, that kind of brings it around. He's stuck on this fucking level, and I can't get over it. How do you? he's playing Doom Eternal in 2025. That's a terrible thing to do, first of all, and second of all, you're stuck in whatever. I would say like I I don't know how you have like one of the greatest or like great relationships with some women, and or that you're saying that you have, or you're like acquainted with them or some way, and then they stop talking to you, and it's a shock, you know? Like obviously from their perspective, the actual connection wasn't that tight knit. Otherwise they would have stuck with you and kept like actually talking to you, which they didn't do that because they don't feel like they had too much of a connection to you. So I would say, you know, next time I would say that it's less likely to be because you're bald, you know? You're kind of self-deprecating here and not really I don't know you. I don't. But at the end of the day, from what I can tell, most people, just people in general, because, you know, women aren't, you know, fucking aliens, are gonna actually latch on to people that they care about because those people made them care about them, you know, in some meaningful way. Like if you have a meaningful, you don't even have to have meaningful conversations all the time. You just have to like be active with them. You have to like actually talk to them and like be like, oh, how's your day going? Oh, this happened to me today and I'm doing this. You want to follow me on this? Or like, oh man, I was really interested in this thing over here. I see you're really interested in that. I saw something about that like the other day. Maybe we could do something about that. And it's not hard. It's not hard to like find other people's interests and then like connect with them on that, and like actually have some good meaningful relationships. I'm not gonna give any examples because you could take my word with all the due respect, and it doesn't matter. If I give any examples of my real life experiences, it doesn't matter at all. Nothing that I say could really change the context of, oh, this guy, or nothing can change the fact that this guy is only looking at his appearance and not looking about how he actually conducts himself.
None of these, like, bro, I'm talking, there were like 9, 10, 12, you know, there were a few girls that I was like kind of cool with, right? At my prime, I guess I should say, in my second year. And bro, like all 12 of them, like I'm talking every single one of them, just ghosted me. Like it's just it's just so wild to me, you know, how they have a hive mind. Like people always say that that's a misogynistic statement to make, but I've never experienced something like that, you know, that every single, you know, people always say this stuff that, oh, not all women are the same. Yes, they are. Like,
no, no, I don't know where you got that from. They're not the same, dude. There is no hive mind. Literally everybody is different. I am a firm believer in the fact that, or in at least some capacity, that every single human being that ever comes into the world is different one from another in some sort of way. Now, obviously, you'll have majorities. Like, there's majorities of people that, you know, like guys who watch too much porn and jerk off on a constant basis. But at the end of the day, no, none of those guys are gonna do the exact same pattern. Or like, not everybody is NPC. Not everybody is gonna act the same. Okay, I would believe for a fact that, honestly, I do believe for a fact that this guy is naming something or is telling something that happened in his prior experience about him with some girls, or like 10 or 11 girls that did not want to talk to him after he went bald because he went bald. I don't really think that's the case. I really think that they might not have wanted to talk to you because you may not conduct yourself in a certain way, or like you don't carry yourself like with self-respect, or that you don't genuinely hold any emotional value to them, so they don't really need you. So, you know, I would say if you want to avoid that in the future, you actually connect with women in a meaningful way, in a way that is helpful towards you and is emotionally stable. You know, like you can't just like keep up trying to suck on their toes when they don't want to notice you. That's not how it works. That's not healthy for anyone. That's not healthy for them. That's not healthy for you. They don't want to become the center of an obsession that weighs heavy on their mind, and it can make them scared. And I'm talking like I'm equating them to like animals or some shit, like bunny rabbits. No, they're not. They don't want to be part of this obsession, and they could genuinely be afraid of you because they don't know you. That's the one thing that literally everybody has in common, is the fear of the unknown. You don't know somebody, so you're probably not going to know what they're going to do, you know?
How was it that all 12 of them, like, they weren't even friends with each other, you know? I mean, some of them were, but some of these women, they didn't know each other, but they did know me. But it's like all 12 of them had this group chat where they were like, oh my God, the real is bald. Don't ever talk to him because that means your reputation is going to go down. And
I mean, like, let's say in that case scenario, they actually did. Let's say they actually hive-minded and like made a group chat. And like, dude, they're stupid. Who cares? Who honestly gives a fuck? Like, if you're gonna have like this argument that young people in your age are like making like dumb decisions in life and they're at their fault for it, dude, everybody does dumb stuff at their young age. I don't really think you can fault them for like having this social hierarchy thing that they're going for or whatever, because I can guarantee you that at my old schools there was definitely, and I've graduated by now, but at my old schools there was definitely some sort of social hierarchy. But it doesn't matter. Literally everybody is the same, dude. You can't just like go into school every day and just be like, oh, I'm cooked now. I can't get no pussy. I'm bald. You know, that's not reality. That's not the reality of the situation. You're gonna have game. You just gotta wait, dude. You really do have to wait, because you know you can't expect everybody to have it together all at once at the same time. You know, when everybody else is still figuring out their problems. You know, you're not the only one in the world.
this is wild. So yeah, this is the biggest sign that you're sub 5, is that women just, you know, they don't talk to you, or if they do, they avoid you as much as they can.
No, okay.
Mel time.
Why did I say that?
Mel time. It's Mel time.
got the 4. Okay.
So the next thing I want to talk about is more of the male social dynamic.
Okay, I don't know why he played that. He doesn't even have a girl.
This is that people are more rude to you. When I was in high school, I remember that I had to prove myself in a weird way. Like, everything I said, I had to prove myself with. Or if I wore Yeezys, you know, if I wore AirPods, I had to prove that they were real, for example. A lot of these kids thought, you know, these things were fake. If I said that, you know, I was doing 1,000 setups per week, which I was at the time, I had to prove it. Like, everything I said, I had to prove it. And it's such a weird thing thinking back, because, you know, at the time I thought that was normal. I thought that, you know, if you make a statement and people ask for proof that it's a normal thing, that's not normal, bro. You're sub 5. If that's happening to your life where you need to prove everything that you're doing,
More like just some people are dumb. You ever realize that kids in high school are dumb? You ever realize that they're kids? They don't. Yeah, if men don't respect you, like, actually they don't. If like you go into your high school, right? If nobody respects you in your school, you have to think like, why, like, maybe is it the way that I like conduct myself or whatever? Like, I've always grown up in a predominantly black area, you know, but I don't really try and like fit in all as much. I don't really try and like prove myself or like try and become a young blood in that sense. I don't really try and hang out with the Crips and the Bloods, you know. That's just not that's not who I am. That's not what I want to be, you know. And I honestly did try and fit in when I was like in middle school, but when I was in high school, I just gave up by then. You know, there's no reason. You're gonna grow up eventually. You're gonna become a respectable person on your own. So why do you need the approval of high school kids? That's like the bare minimum approval. I mean, yeah, they're your peers and they're like the most social interaction that you could have throughout your life in that time of your life. But I mean, like, eventually everybody's gonna grow up, and that's really gonna dictate where the respect should be given. Like, imagine if uh one side of the school who acts like young bloods, or like the Crips and the Bloods, they're gonna grow up and they're actually gonna be like actual like businessmen, and they're gonna drop all that shit that they did before. And then the other gang affiliated like cholos, they're gonna go into debt, they're gonna have baby mamas out the wazoo, and they're gonna like they're just gonna fail in life. You'd have to wonder like where the divide began. Obviously a lot of things in high school are dropped way after, or even just like a little bit after high school. So you're not going to see a lot of people, and if they do grow up and like flourish like that, yeah, good for them, I guess. But a lot of them kind of don't. You can tell, like, if they grow up as kids and they doing the things they do and then become adults doing kid shit, it's going to reflect in their life.
You're just sub 5. Like, that's all I'm going to say. People are going to think you're incompetent because you're ugly. Because these days, again, I've said to people, the stuff that I do, and they just believe it, unless it's something very much over the top, unless I tell someone that, for example, I have a channel with 6,000 followers, which, obviously if you say that to the average normie, they're never going to believe that. So they're going to ask for proof. But
I mean, no, nobody cares, dude. You don't really go out and say it in public. I mean, if I had as many subscribers as this guy, I would just like not like to anybody that I met online or like really at all. I just don't, because that's not a normal conversation starter. And I feel like this guy is just like, oh, if they're, or like everybody else is like, they're judging you because of how you look. No, they're judging you maybe because of how you conduct yourself and like how you actually like take action as a human being. I did not have a good time in high school. I was pretty bad. And I never put into effort into anything that I did. I hardly made any meaningful connections during that time. But you know what? I learned something. I learned it's because I didn't put in effort, surprisingly. Holy shit. If you do put in effort into things that you do and like actually become friends with people that you look up to, and and that happens, that's good for you. But if you pour your effort into something that's just not going to yield anything, then that's just something that you need to like step out of. You need to take a step back. You need to analyze yourself, and you need to find out what the problem is. So like girls, or let's say this: you want to join your local football team, but you don't know like, or you're not familiar with the guys on the football team. You look up to them. Well, then I would say, try and build a meaningful connection by being a generally good guy. People struggle consciously rubbing salt in the wound of somebody who is good. So like if you help out more with like good things, or like setting up and just like talking and like vibing, having a good time. I ended up learning this the right way outside of school, and my work area and my work ethic when I was a lifeguard. When I used to be a lifeguard, I would hang out with these guys, and I hadn't really known any of them, and yet I built meaningful connections with them by my actions and like helping them set up, playing along with the vibes, not going off into the corner and just like texting on my phone or whatever. And I'm not saying that that's like, like, oh, the kids should get off their phones or whatever. But I'm saying that if you want to build meaningful connections with people, you need to talk to them. That's just the basis of where it all begins. It's foundation of building good friendships and whatnot. Just talking to people. And like, hell, if you're really good at football, you can actually make an impact and like really drive the team forward, but you're still going to need to talk to them. You're still going to need to talk to your teammates. So like, And it doesn't matter if you're the best or if you're the worst. You need to talk to your team. You need to talk to, or you need to help out. You need to be a true team player in order to help, in order to help your image, in order to make people, or not make them, but give them a reason to respect you.
On the regular, like things like, oh yeah, I go to the gym or whatever. It's like, it's whatever. People just believe me these days. And it's such a weird experience thinking back that, yeah, I had to prove myself for everything, man. It's so like ingrained into me that I had to do that for all those years. And I actually thought that was normal. Another point that I want to make about the, more of the male social dynamics is that you are the punching bag. And
I guess he really likes Vanos, which is nice. That's cool. Group punching bag. This is not supposed to be Passerani. Okay. I don't really care. For the longest time. What? All right, this is kind of a dumb image because I'm already seeing some inconsistencies here. Like for the most amount of years, Nogla, Dahida Nogla, the one at the bottom left here, the racist one apparently, was actually the punching bag for the longest amount of time, dude. And I remember that. And I would even remember hearing Wildcat vividly saying, oh my god, I'm not gonna play with you if you're gonna be a dick or something like that. And I see that, and I'm like, oh my god, there was actually like sort of a divide there for a little bit. But Nogla took it in stride. He came to the point where he absorbed the punching bag, he made it his thing, and then turned it around, and was even able to go up against people like XQC and start actually nuking out, or like nuking him and like actually blowing his back out, because he actually had some experience in that field of like being in the punching bag, but also taking it in stride, becoming legitimately a team player. Because if he didn't, he would have ended up like Mini Lad. And we know that for a fact because that's exactly what happened to Mini Lad. He was also Mini Lad was the first punching bag. Okay, Mini Lad was like the ultimate first punching bag, and then he hated it. He quit the group. Then he talked shit about them on stream. Then he, got outed for being a PDF file, which is awesome. And no, I mean it's not awesome that he was one, but I'm saying it's awesome that he got, fucking nuked. But Nogla strided Nogla ran where Mini Lad fell. That's the thing. And even now, Passeroni being the punching bag is always taking it in stride and becoming a genuine team player because, it's legitimately not all that serious to be, I guess in the group and just like, absorb the talk, because that's what being a part of like a friend group like this comes with. You always have someone who's like throwing jokes, and then there's the punching bag, But in reality, I don't really think there should be a punching bag. I feel like that's kind of dumb. In my groups that I'm in, there's no punching bags. But I mean, if you genuinely believe that, like the punching bag meta is still relevant, there's got to be like some sort of change. There's got to be. I don't really watch Vanos gaming videos too much anymore, so I don't really know too much about Passeroni. But I would imagine from the clips that I've seen, that she's taking it in stride and that she's like actually making it into relevant content and like actually having a good time with the boys,
I know it's like normalized, it's normalized. Every friend group has a punching bag. You have to understand a lot of the things that are normalized in society these days are just bad. You shouldn't be the punching bag of a group because it.
Okay, let's see what he has to say, or see what this Reddit post is. I'm not the confrontational type of person, but I really suck with banter and rude comments. Okay, so that's where we have the divide here. I already see what's going on. If you really suck with banter and rude comments, so that's like the biggest thing. That's what Mini Lad was all. That's what he was all pissy about. Was like you have this group of friends that they like to make fun of each other. They like to play lighthearted jokes, even racist ones at times. It doesn't matter, dude. As long as it's all like jokes and funs and games and shit like that, you know, I don't really think it should be taken like, oh, anything should be taken as personal, you know? I mean, yeah, there should be some times where like you talk with the group and you say, hey, you know what? I'm feeling down lately. I think I'm gonna take a break or whatever. But I think that's what you should do. I think that's the mature thing to do. You should take a break, not completely separate from the group, and then like actually like talk shit about them because you've had your feelings hurt about it or whatever. That's just prideful and ignorant. I never knew how to deal with nefarious comments about myself. Even when I do have a comeback, someone else in the group uses the opportunity to lay into me. Given the chance for everyone to mock me and laugh at me, I tend to ignore these situations and move on. But it gets to me sometimes, and I feel like starting an argument that could lead to minor fights, or me coming off as childish, but not being able to take the joke, etc. Which doesn't help the cause. Any advice on how to deal with this would be welcome. So you're gonna just have like some friends or like quote unquote friends that make fun of you constantly and aren't self-aware of the fact that like they're pushing it a little too far, you know. But at the same time, you know, you can't just say, "Oh, get your funny up," you know, and like come up with a good comeback. But I mean, if you do really want to avoid the situation, really pay attention to like the conversations that you're having with people, how you feel, and then look at the people that you're actually like spending time with and what's going on with them, or like going on just in general, because you're not gonna have you're not gonna have a good time if you keep sticking with people you just don't vibe with, you know. So like I would say when I got into my lifeguarding job and I was with, you know, people that I didn't really know at all. They weren't from my school, and so I didn't know them. uh what I did was like, obviously I still helped, I still, you know, came around and did shit, and they honestly didn't pay attention to me at first, but then I started like kind of like slowly introduce myself, and then like eventually I got into the mix and I just became kind of a pillar in their group. Why? Because I had some sort of self-respect. I had some sort of uh you know, actual reason to be respected, you know. And not only that, but like I didn't really take it too personally whenever they said shit about me. It doesn't matter. Like you're not going to be friends with everybody over there, but at the end of the day you really have to let go of like small tendencies that other people have, because you can't control it, you know. And if you're not comfortable with where you are, if you're not happy with it, then it would be nice to leave. You know, it would be beneficial to leave that group and just like find who you actually vibe with. And that takes effort. That takes time to find the people that you really do vibe with. But it's not you know, it's not like this is the end road. This is the group that I have to be with for the rest of my life, you know. No. It's not gonna. It doesn't have to be like that. And then there's off chance that like your friends, your whole friend group, are really big dicks. You know, then it becomes easier to really, especially when you get the opinion of other people in your life. Like let's say other friends that you have outside of the group, or like I don't know, even family, and you know they're all like, oh well, those people seem bad. You probably shouldn't hang out with them. It can seem deeper on a different level, but at the end of the day, if you're not happy, you have to move on. You have to move on for you, and you know that's just the end result. You know,
It's gonna destroy your self-esteem. If you're in a friendship group now, first of all, if you're the punching bag, you're not even friends. Like literally, you're not friends. You're just there to make them look better, if that makes sense. But the second point is that, you know, again, people say that, oh, it's normal to be the punching bag because every group has a punching bag. Well, People also sit on their phone 24/7. Does that mean it's normal, it's healthy? People also watch porn daily. Does that mean it's healthy? There's a lot of very bad stuff normalized in the modern day society, which, that's a rant for another video, right? But it's like, it's no wonder that everyone these days is depressed, because we're normalizing stuff that isn't healthy for us. And yeah, being the punching bag is one of them, bro. It's not.
I think more people are lonely because they're afraid of situations like this. They don't want to get roped into a group that doesn't respect them, that doesn't value them, or like even a significant other that doesn't treat them right, And I would say that goes for both women and men. So in any sort of relationship, gay, straight, or like even like literally anything that has to do with like another person, unless you're married to AI, then it's gonna be perfect all the time, of course, obviously. But I'd say most people are just lonely because they don't want to actually put in the effort, and because they don't want to get close to people, because they don't want to get hurt, because they don't want to actually have to deal with people, And I would say that's the worst thing that could possibly happen,
Normal to be the punching bag. Like, I'm sorry to be the bearer of this news, but it's better for you to be alone than to be the punching bag, because when you're alone, at least your self-esteem isn't going to get attacked every time, you go out with these people.
I think F students are the creators of the world.
Hold on, let me see.
I guess one of them, bro. It's not normal to be the punching bag. Like, I'm sorry to be the.
I would say he's generally right about this. I don't really think there's anything wrong with what he said. Being alone, being better than like being the punching bag. If it really is that bad, then yeah, it would probably be best to like split off into a group. You're gonna be better off alone and like with your family, I would suppose, rather than being with a group that doesn't respect you at all. But you have to think about things like what normal, healthy friendships look like. Like, again, let's go back to Minilad. Minilad did not take all those things like jokes and insults in stride, and that's like kind of where he started falling off because of his pride and because of his ego. And that's he broke off from the team because he genuinely believed that he could do it on his own, and he could do it on his own. That's not to say he couldn't do it on his own, but his ego and his pride got in the way of genuine friendship and relationships, and he burned so many bridges, and it really fucked him up. And then he touched kids, and then that's like even worse, or he almost did. And then you'd have Nogla. They made fun of Nogla so much. You have to go back and watch so many Thanos videos in order to understand the gravity of like where Nogla was in that time. He was the punching bag by all means, by all definition, the punching bag. But you know what? They all laughed together. When you have a group that's like laughing at you, you have to find a way to laugh with them. I mean, if they're like genuinely being dicks about it, and they're like, why are you laughing too? We're making fun of you. Then you have to leave, dude. But like, if they're just doing it in good fun and it's like none of it is serious, then yeah, it would be cool. It would be good to like, put down your guard a little bit, relax. They're making fun of you, but it's okay. And then just like go on with your day. And like do the things that you like to do. They can't take those things away from you. They can't take your family away from you. And even if your self-esteem is a little bit damaged, you have to realize at the end of the day, you're not all that. You're just a normal person living your normal life in a world that's, frankly, just normal. It's just like you're just a person. You're just a person. You're doing what you can do. That's how I go through life. I'm like, I do all that I can. Anyways.
Bear of this news, but it's better for
the creators
alone than to be the punching bag, because when you're alone, at least your self-esteem isn't going to get attacked every time you go out with these people.
I think F students are the creators of the world. I was a high school dropout, but I also got kicked out of 17 schools in total. But I never let school get in the way of my education because I don't believe in school. A students are my #1 employees. B are my managers. The C,
Yeah.
those are the ones that are like almost an owner, on the verge of becoming a business owner to being a manager. And then you have the D, that those are business owners.
Yes.
And then you have the F, and the F are the ones that create new inventions for the world.
Okay, I don't know where he got that from. I don't know where he got this whole inspirational spiel from. None of that is true. I mean, I would really like to say that he's right about that, because I was honestly just a D student to the hardcore because I just didn't put in any effort. But you'd have like people who are like trying to do something else with their life. They're trying to be like rappers, especially in my case where I grew up. People who are trying to be rappers. They're trying to be a part of a gang or whatever, and they're all F students. Do you really think they're going to be owning businesses and like moving the world forward technology wise, or like any of that shit? No, they're not really gonna. I would have to say that 90% of them are just not gonna make it, you know. And a lot of them, I can attest to this because, when my sister graduated, in 2019, one of her classmates that she knew very well. Well, she didn't know very well, but he was one of those people. He was one of those people that either wanted to be a rapper or part of a gang or something, you know? He was definitely an F student. I would have to say definitely an F student. He ended up going to somewhere in like the middle of the night, and he got caught in a shoot up and died. I'm not saying that he was definitely involved in it or like he had any connections to it, but it's hard to say that you would be at the wrong place at the wrong time for no reason in like the dead of night. I mean, you could have been at home with your mom, like, you know, watching a movie or something, but no, he was out there like in the trenches apparently or something like that, and he got shot up, you know. That's just the reality of the situation. You could say that the F tier students or like the failures in high school are going to be the owners of Apple one day, but that's not the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is like how much effort you actually put into it. When you come out of high school, you're going to mature as a person. Not everything is dictated. The rest of your life is dictated by how high school ends, you know? You're going to change after you go to high school. And or after you're done with high school. You have people like the Unabomber, which I recently, because I watched one of Turkey Tom's newest videos, had an IQ of 167 and was very proficient in what he did, and he taught in universities and got all these degrees and whatnot. And he then became the Unabomber and started killing people. You know, you're not gonna. The world's unpredictable. You can't just like put. You can't just like say that something is definitely gonna happen, based on like, or that there's gonna be more F tier students that are gonna be like owners, when that's just not the case. I feel like we're dodging reality here a little bit.
Now, if we're talking about a true sub 5, you know, because people always say sub 5 as in, you know, looks. But in my opinion, a true sub 5 is also low in the IQ department, it's low intelligence. A true sub 5, a true cell, as you could say, is someone who isn't only ugly, but also dumb. There's this giant cope, which, you know, the clip at the start pretty much already showed it to you, where there's these people who are like, oh, school doesn't matter, bro. And they always pull out, you know, the Elon Musk card. Oh, Elon Musk says college degrees don't matter, or Bill Gates dropped out of Harvard, or, you know.
Wait, okay, so I'm confused. Are you saying that like are you saying so that video that you played didn't matter? I don't know. Where were you going with that then?
No, they say some wild stuff like that. First of all, bro, you're not Elon Musk. You're not Bill Gates, so stop with the cope. All right, you're not a billionaire. So that's number one. But second of all, school isn't that hard if you're like average intelligence or high intelligence, however you want to say it, unless you have something that's severely destroying you mentally. for example, for me, I was very much addicted to video games, but even with my video game addiction, I went through most of high school in a breeze. Like, I did average classes in my first year of high school. I was like a straight A student in my first year of high school, which then the school put me in all these AP classes, you know, and all these advanced classes. And I still went through most of them without really trying, I'll be honest. Now, of course, if you know my story, then you know that the video game addiction did take a hold of me, and it definitely made me fail a few years because of that. But the point is, if we look at it in a vacuum, you know, I didn't really struggle with school. It's not like I was sitting there studying for 8 hours, and that's what these people believe. You know, these people who are, you know, I'm just gonna say it as it is. These dumb people, these unintelligent people who are saying that, you know, oh, school doesn't matter, bro. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna tell you that school is 100% matters. It doesn't. But for you to sit there and say that, oh, I dropped out of high school, it doesn't matter. Like, no, you're just dumb. Like, that's it. High school shouldn't be a struggle. If you're struggling with high school, you're just dumb. And that's fine. Like, if you're unintelligent, the first thing you need to do is acknowledge that you're unintelligent, and then we can move on and see what we can do with it. But to have this huge amount of cope, you know, where you can't deal with a problem and then you say that the problem doesn't matter. Like, you can't deal with school, but then school doesn't matter. I don't know, man. It's just such an unintelligent statement to me. And yeah, I don't get it. You know, there was a video I made a while ago, which was signs that you're intelligent, which, you know, it's one of my cringiest videos.
I don't really understand what the argument of being smart or dumb really means. Because, like, you could be dumb as fuck, right? And you have, like, the best shaped body and, like, the best, the honestly the best jawline of all time, and you could be considered a 10 out of 10. It does not matter to the rate category how smart you are. I mean, I guess you could say in, like, regards of, like, how much respect you get, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know what he's going for at this point. I went along with it for no reason, I guess, but I would have to say that this is just kind of a mood point.
For made, but one of the things I read in the comments was someone saying that, oh, this guy only talks about school and this, and, you know, as much as I hate to do that, it is one of the easiest ways to measure how intelligent someone is, because we can sit here and beat around the bush all day, right? We can sit here and do all these measurements and measure, you know, social intelligence, for example, and this intelligence.
I mean, again, I don't really know what this has to do with, like, being a sub 5 mil, but I guess if you want to make the argument that, like, yeah, what he's saying here now, I guess, is being an actual, like, good student isn't hard. You know, it's gonna, like, you know, you have to have, like, average intelligence at least in order to pass school. It shouldn't be like rocket science. But if you're really smart, you're gonna be, like, up on the scale or some shit. I don't really know what he's going for. I think we kind of run off the rails here.
But I believe school is a very broad, easy way to measure intelligence. And if you look at any intelligent people in history, they never struggled with school. They never did. Like, if you look to Einstein, whatever, like, intelligent guy, they never struggled in school.
Maybe that's because they didn't have anything else to do. They didn't have any other games to play.
So then where is the scope coming from that school doesn't matter? Yes, it matters. And especially if you want to get, like, into a good industry, it matters, because in these, you know, industries like becoming a doctor, becoming a lawyer, you need the degree. So for you to say it doesn't matter, it's scope, man. You just have low IQ and whatever. Like, that's all I can say. It's just sub 5 trait.
I'm letting these.
I mean, I think it's definitely true that you don't need school to succeed in life, but at the end of the day, like, yeah, if you do want to chase, like, certain passions like law, or let's say in my case I want to do film, yeah, there's definitely going to need to be a degree that needs to be earned. And that's not a hard take. That's not a huge, like, oh my god moment. But I would believe that this guy's right about that.
Guys have their way with me and they can't even text me back.
Guys can be such a-holes sometimes.
I just want to find a nice guy.
You know, sometimes the treasure you're looking for is buried in your own backyard.
So the last point, and I want to wrap this up by talking about girls again, is that, you know, just like when you're nice to guys that they use you, girls do basically the same, but it's even worse because they also gaslight you. You know, you've had this statement where they say, oh, nice guys are entitled and they just want to get laid. I mean, I don't know if girls know. I mean, they do know this, but every guy who's talking to them, like 99% of guys who's talking to them,
Does he put on the subtitles that
and they just want to get laid. I mean, I don't know if girls.
she is right? Guys literally only want one thing, and it's fucking disgusting. Dude, where do you come from again? I don't really understand why you think that this is right. Like, you're gonna obviously, like, every guy likes to have sex. There's no reason to argue that point. But it's not like all a guy wants to do all day is fuck. that's just stupid, dude. Literally everybody has passions that they want to do, and like things that they want to pursue. People find relationships pursuing those. Like, I mean, you could be in an office one day, just like working a regular 9 to 5 and like saving up for your dreams. You're not even really thinking about like having a relationship anytime soon. And then out of nowhere, this absolute babe comes and just like flies through your door, and she's like, yeah, can I get or whatever. And then you take her order, and she's like, oh, can I also get your number? You look hot. And then the rest is history, you know? I mean, that's not really reality, but like at the end of the day, this is not, if you're always in the mindset that you're always out for pussy, then there's something wrong with you. There's definitely something wrong with you. But I would believe that this tweet that got ratioed, and he clipped that part out, I guess, is absolutely wrong.
Know. I mean, they do know this, but
also 1:56 in the morning. God damn, you have nothing else better to do except for shit on men all night long.
Every guy who's talking to them, like 99% of guys who's talking to them, wants to get into their pants. Like, it doesn't matter if it's chat or some sub 5. They want to get into her pants. That's the reason why 99% of guys talk to you. So that statement in itself to me is just wild. And, you know, obviously a lot of guys are nice, not because they want to, it's that they were taught this. You know, I talked about this in a past video where I said that Disney ruined like an entire generation of men. And basically, you know, they brainwashed us. They made us think that being nice gets us stuff, essentially, if that makes sense. And all of a sudden, you know, you become an adult and you're
not being nice only gets you so far. If you have no personality, if you have nothing to really align with your like beliefs and like why you do the things that you do, if it's all just centered around one person, then that person is not gonna be attracted to you, because they don't want to be the center of the universe. They want to have something more to hold on to. They want to have, when you made friends in school, Jesus Christ, I'm about to have an aneurysm. What did you bond over? Me and my best friend in the 2nd grade, we loved Sonic the Hedgehog, and we bonded over that. Since then, our ties have become unbreakable. Now, we don't really care as much about Sonic anymore, and I would have to say it's completely died for me because the games are all ass. But I would have to say that that's akin to having literally any sort of relationship. If you have a personality, if you have a reason to build a connection with the person that you really want to build a connection with, then that becomes so easy to do. It becomes so flawless, and it shouldn't be like a constant struggle, you know? Obviously you're gonna have times where you're gonna like make a hiccup or you're just not, it's not gonna go easy all the time. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're not having any luck finding women, you know, that find you attractive or whatever, I feel like you're not really understanding why. You just have to be a normal person. There's no reason to play this, oh, nice gets us nothing type game, because it's not true. It's not true at all. All you have to do is be a normal fucking person and just like actually like be a good guy, which is kind of dumb to say, but you just have to be a good person, you know?
Gaslit, and people are saying, oh, just because you're nice doesn't mean you get stuff. And it's like, well, why did you tell me that then when I was growing?
Also, Disney doesn't like raise you, so your parents and the friends that you surround yourself with, as well as the overall surrounding, pretty much everything that you surround yourself with, or that you are surrounded with in your childhood that you grow up with, has more of an effect on you than any Disney movie should. I feel like that's not a hard take.
Up, why was I brainwashed growing up that being nice gets me stuff, but then when I grow up, being nice actually doesn't give me anything? Like, what? Am I the only one who's confused there? And so the solution to this is that
also, being nice for the sake of getting something in return is not being nice. You know, that's not how it works, you know? Obviously, in the end of those Disney movies, everything nice happens to the nice guys, you know, like Aladdin, I guess, when he gets Jasmine, the girl. But the reality of the situation is you as a human being, as an adult, have the responsibility to do the right thing in your moral compass, regardless of how it turns out. Like, if you die on the battlefield protecting your brethren, you know, and you go out and you fight and you protect those who the brethren, you protect the brethren, goddammit, and you go out like a champion, they're gonna sing about your name, and your name is gonna be written down in history. Okay? Like, god damn it. It's not hard to explain. It shouldn't be hard to explain, but to an adult it is kind of, you know?
You stop being nice. Now, obviously, if you're sub 5, there's not much you can do because girls are very looks based. And as I said at the start of this video, if you're sub,
literally everybody is looks based. Nobody. I mean, would you date a girl that looks like a sub 5 according to you? Like, we haven't really mentioned like how we rate other girls, you know, or like how we rate girls, and then actually like make a reflection about how we feel, because believe it or not, we are also human beings that have the same, maybe not the same way of thinking, but the same emotions and feelings, and maybe not even the same emotions and feelings, but like general overall understanding, you know, of like how we view the dating world. So would you date an ugly girl is what I'm saying. Probably not. I would have to assume probably not, based on what you're saying. So the fact that you expect people that you would consider higher than you to date you is kind of wild, you know? You can't really expect that much. Even if you yourself aren't expecting that much from yourself.
5, you're mostly invisible to women unless they want something of you. Just like with men, honestly. Like, unless they want something out of you, unless you have something of value, like you're a smart guy, for example, and they want, your homework, or they want you to help them with an assignment, they want you to help them with their job. Like, unless they want something out of you, they don't really talk to you. This is like universal if you're sub 5. This goes both for men and women. However, something that I did notice with women is that in university, once I started becoming more rude, so once I started, being more absent, not being this happy guy who's always laughing and saying hi and holding doors and hee hee ha ha. Once I stopped being that dude, once I became more serious, this was my second year of university where I peaked, which I've talked about quite a lot, but this is where, I had the most amount of girls who were into me. And something that I haven't told you is
why? You know why? It's crazy, because you show some semblance of personality. If you don't constantly have, like pussy on your mind and shit, you're going to be thinking about things that you want to do in life. You're going to be thinking about like the future that you want to hold for yourself and the legacy that you want to leave behind. But, and you have that mentality, you're not going to let anybody else get in your way. If you have that kind of mentality that you want to succeed in life and you have genuine things to go on for, people are going to be attracted to that. People are going to want to see that. And that's why women would find you attractive in that state, because they see you as somebody who has value to themselves and in general. And I'm not saying that because you have some sort of self-respect in that fashion, you know? It's not like, oh, rude guys always get all the bitches and whatnot. No, people who are dedicated to what they do in life, people who are actually, you know, wanting to have something other than just one thing, or like other than just that one person that they fawn over so much, you know. If people are genuinely, if you're out genuinely doing something for the world, then people are going to be attracted to that no matter who you are. Okay?
That a lot of these girls that are into me actually did not have a father. Like, a lot of these girls randomly would trauma dump me with their whole, you know, that their parents are divorced and blah blah blah. It kind of makes sense if you know something about, you know, how psychology works. But let's just say it this way: the amount of fatherless women are just on the rise. They're just more and more and more. So I guess being rude is one of those cheat codes where they actually fall for you because it reminds them of their absent father. And an even more extreme example of this, the black community, where almost or over 50% of them are fatherless, which is
okay. What the fuck? All right, I don't know what kind of territory we got into this. The fatherless thing. I would have to say like no, just no. Like, if you're surrounding yourself with people who may or may not be in some way or shape or form mentally ill, then I would say that's going to have a bad impact on you as a person. You're not going to really grow from that. And I would have to say, even if they do like find some sort of attraction towards you, you should probably let them know that they need to get some help, and, you know, like actually get them to like a place where they can get help, you know, or like be a genuinely good person and do the right thing and tell them that they need to get help, you know. If they're trauma dumping you constantly, like about things that happen in the personal life, I would say that that's a clear indicator that they might need some family therapy or something like that. And because they're people, women aren't just like dogs or pets or anything like that. They're people who want to have connections. They want to have genuine relationships. And if they find you attractive for the wrong reason, I would say, and like being rude or whatever, I guess, because he's very vague about that, is like one of those things that gets and I would have to say that he's probably lying about that, because like, how would you not come up with something, or like how would he became so vague about it for no reason? I don't understand. But I would have to say you shouldn't surround yourself with those people who are in some way, shape, or form just mentally degraded. That would be the good thing would be to do the morally right thing to do. Would just be to actually help them, you know, especially if you actually care about them.
It's just crazy to me. Like, if you're black, it's literally a coin toss if you're gonna have a father. You know, that's why in the black community everyone's trying to be a thug. Everyone's trying to be hard and be absent, because this is what appeals to black women. You know, I learned this from this YouTuber called Jacked and Stacked.
I mean, I would have to say like they were just brought up with bad examples of parenting or like adulting or whatever, and they grew up and became, or they didn't differentiate what an adult should be from a kid, you know. In other words, they grew up but they're still kids, you know. They're just dumb. Okay, doesn't mean you have to do the same thing.
He talks about this in one of his videos called Thug Maxing, which I'll link in the description if you want to watch that. It's a very interesting video, very, very insightful, you know, into why there's so many like black criminals. Because to me, I never really understood that issue. But, you know, at the end of the day, everything men do comes down to women. And, you know, this is just another one of those. But obviously, you know, with all that being said, this doesn't apply if you're sub 5, you know. If you're sub 5, you're invisible, like I said at the start. So, but I just wanted to point this out, that, you know, if you're nice, that it doesn't really matter. Like, if you're rude or nice, I would say honestly, if you're sub 5, you should be rude. Honestly, if you have to pick two situations, right? You're sub 5. Are you going to be nice to people or are you going to be rude? I would say be rude because
I would say be you. Be who you are as an actual person, and don't try and fit some sort of narrative, like, or try and like drive some sort of narrative that, oh, women don't want me because I'm a sub 5, so I'm just gonna be rude so that they'll love me. Like, that's kind of like bunga bunga type thinking. That's so dumb. I just don't understand where this mentality comes from. Oh no, I do. It comes from self degradation. It's just not right, honestly, to say that that's what should happen. So yeah, I would say that this is just not right.
people don't like you anyway. So what's the point? You're not going to win them over. You're ugly. Like, nobody's going to like Shrek. Nobody. That's just the way it is. But yeah, that's the video. I think the next video I'm going to talk about science. You're becoming more attractive because...
No, I don't think you should. I don't really think he set a good example. He did go over some points that were okay-ish, but I would say overall he just has a bad understanding of like actually how people work. And I think that's how most people really do like see themselves, or that's the majority of people who rate themselves unironically on a scale of 1 to 10. So like I know that I'm not the best looking guy, but I'm not about to sit here and be like, oh, I'm maybe a 5, maybe a 6. I just know I'm not sub 5. And like, it doesn't matter. It genuinely doesn't matter. As long as I have some sort of reason, or I have self-respect, I have a reason to keep living in my life, which is like chasing the passions that I want, you know, being there with my friends, being there with my family, and having good actual connections with people who I know and love. And I have a good mindset about myself. Like, this is what I'm gonna do today. You know, I feel like being you is the most important thing, and nothing should overstep that. So honestly, that's really it. I would yap for like an hour. This is just not right. I don't think this guy's just teaching. I don't really think this guy's teaching a good lesson. So I mean, if you do want to you know, take his word more than mine, go ahead. It's up to you. I think you should form your own opinion. Always be yourself. Do what you think is right based on the things that you have seen. Form your own opinions, and take a look in the mirror every now and then to self-evaluate, and try and not rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, but where your mentality is, and try and aim for a better future. Try and see what you can fix. And that's about it. Yeah. Thanks.